Well, it's about time I get talking about the first theatrical Disney release of 2020 so my viewers can find out if it's worth going out to see in theaters. Except, depending where you live, it may already be too late. Plus, the opening weekend numbers weren't too good. This poor thing never had a chance. For some reason, Pixar decided to not only release 2 movies this year, but have them only separated by 3 months. That's never been done before. Marketing-wise, I'm not really sure how you'd be able to focus on one thing or the other. In any case, the trailers for Onward didn't seem to get people excited. I wanted to watch it, but I'm a huge Pixar fan. I'm not going to miss anything at this point, but it didn't really have that familiar Pixar aesthetic. I can't really explain it, but for some reason it makes sense when they went from Toy Story to Bug's Life to Monsters Inc., yet Onward feels completely outside their usual work. I didn't let that distract from my hype. I love the studio, and there could be yet another gem within Onward. Overall, it's a fine enough film, which has the classic Pixar skill of taking things we know and adding new elements. Instead of toys or fish or superheroes, we have the entire fantasy genre, but done in modern times. We have 2 brothers on a quest to bring their father back from the dead for one day, and we have quite a few mishaps along the way. I've probably said this before, but the fantasy genre took a while for me to become acquainted with. I only started liking The Lord of the Rings, for instance, after the 3rd viewing. I held off on watching many classic fantasy 80s movies, and it just never was my style. My only reasoning is that every person's take on the genre seems to carry over so many elements of what's already established, so it never feels too original to me. This thought of mine is outdated, however, because I've since come to admire these kinds of films just as much as any genre. With Onward, putting it in the modern age could potentially lead to a lot of humor. For the most part, it works, as a lot of the magical creatures have actually hindered their abilities with the advantage of advanced technology, so everyone has the appearance of someone whose glory days have come and gone. The only issue is that there isn't nearly enough comedy. It happens here and there, and not to invoke everyone's least favorite Pixar flick, but it kept making me think of The Good Dinosaur, which also had a somewhat interesting premise, but did almost nothing to capitalize on it. However, Onward has good characters and an emotional story, which helps keep the audience investment. I figured the voice work of Chris Pratt and Tom Holland would have had more personality, but it's the relationship that keeps it alive. They have a believable camaraderie, and they have positive vibes throughout, rather than relying on any kind of bad tension. They just stay friends, and the plotline relies on the journey and the connection to their father, rather than following the typical tropes of these brother stories. The Ghost Dad leads to the best moments, as it's an ingenious design on the filmmaker's part. A spirit with only legs creates physical moments that harken back to the golden age of animation, when they'd be so rubbery and rule-breaking with their structures. The finale is satisfying, but to get there, you have to sit through a lot of off-pace scenes that feel way too rushed. The perfect example is when the main leads are traveling down the river, and there's a pivotal moment when Chris Pratt's character is telling a sad memory about the father passing away. It should work well, as it's quite an emotional reveal, but it's smashed between these comedy and action bits, so you don't really get a chance to deal with it. Everything just goes by way too fast. This should have been the vital, important key to the film, but it just doesn't work. I can't even remember the names of the main leads, honestly, but they don't really have the most memorable facial expressions anyways. I thought they looked a little off, and it's probably because they both look almost too similar to one another and don't have the same range of faces you've come to expect from the company. This will, unfortunately, for more reasons than just the box office, become one of the most forgettable in the studio's canon. But for so many great successes, it's impossible to hit permanent home runs. I liked it enough for what I got, but I think more could have been done. Now I'm wondering if Pixar knew this one wouldn't be an audience grabber, so they pumped it out right before Soul just to lessen the blow? Maybe Soul is the much better film I should be getting hyped for. For now, Onward will work for some, but to me, it's underwhelming. 3 out of 5 stars. It's still good and has a lot of heart put into it. Just reading about the making of it made me want to give it 5 stars anyway, but the production history can't overshadow the final product. Thanks to all my Patreon supporters. For only $7, you can get your own monthly movie review. Ask me to review anything I haven't already. There's also other perks like blogs, exclusive videos, and early access. You can also follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And thanks so much for watching this video.